Yeah, or something.
No,
I was like,
just
oh yeah, just like
cardboard. Like, what's over here? Let's do this.
oh, how can I look at chat the best way? Is it just open Twitch?
Pull up Twitch. I'll also be monitoring the chat. Did it? No. Oh, we are live. Yeah. Awesome. If you are in the chat right now, definitely let us know if you can hear us.
Yeah.
And everything. So I'm going to do the Twitter things real quick. Retweet. Stuff like that. Also, if you're in the chat, just so I know that you can hear us, let me know what you've been playing during quarantine. Like, what's your top game played on TTS right now? Let's see.
Or just in general, video games.
Or yeah,
otherwise.
You could. Oh yeah, video game. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, right? I think is.
Yeah, I think.
Or Animal Crossing.
I think I've hit triple digits in my Animal Crossing play at this point.
Hold on, I'm trying to see. Did you just now burst into the 100, or are we talking like?
I mean, we're approaching 200. I'm kidding.
All those Animal Crossing hours.
My island is gorgeous, though.
Yeah, I still haven't. I'm very shameful. I think I'm just wanting to play the game to play the turnip market. That's all I want. Stuff like that. Oh, somebody's top game is Root and maybe Oath, the second most. And then of course Marshall has Magic the Gathering Arena. So there we go. There we go. Terraforming Mars, I want to know how that one is on TTS. Personally. I did the I played the Arkham Horror board game, Nick, on TTS. Phenomenal mod, by the way. It has all the things for you, and you get to click things to come out of the chaos bag. It was very nice.
Wait, the board game or the card game?
Oh, the card game.
Okay.
The LCG.
Yeah.
So it was set up very clean and everything like that. So it was interesting to just see how all the TTS mods can be very intuitive. So it's very nice. Oh, there's Patrick. Sick. Okay. So I think that we have enough people. Nick, if you would like to introduce yourself and we'll get rolling.
Perfect. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm Nick Brockman. I work for Leader Games and I do graphic design and developments. And today I got Fort here and we're going to be unboxing it and talking about it and just generally talking about Fort.
Answering questions. Yeah. And then I will be the floating voice that is in the video. My name is Gates. I do marketing and event planning for Leader Games. And so I'll kind of be feeding questions from Nick. So if you have any questions about Fort, feel free to put them in the chat, but just kind of wanting to go over a basic overview. We're really lucky that we have our pre-production copy here that Nick is going to be showing off. So everything's going to be pretty close to what we're seeing, right, Nick?
Yep. Yes. Anything, all the changes are small enough. I'd be surprised if any eagle-eyed viewers would be even able to tell over a stream. So pretty small stuff.
Yeah. And then just kind of going over a couple of dates that I'm sure people have questions about whenever I ask questions on social media is that this is going to be one of our summer releases. This will be a direct to retail. Also, you'll be able to order it directly from us and then we'll be shipping it out this summer to you. But as far as the details of the game, I'll pass that on over to Nick if you want to start off.
Yeah. So Fort is a deck building style game where you play as a popular young child in the neighborhood trying to collect the resources in the game of pizza and toys, spending those pizza and toys to convert them into your fort, eventually having the most points, and you do this by getting all your friends around. Originally designed by Grant Rodick. I never know if I'm saying that last name right. I believe it's Rodick. So this is just a redevelopment of SPQF, which was a Kickstarter he ran a little bit while back. And I can flash on screen here for a moment because I have my copy. I was an original backer of SPQF. So that's SPQF. And then we brought it in, redeveloped it to make Fort. What do we see here today right now? Rodick. Perfect.
Yep. Grant is also in the chat, too.
Yeah, hi, Grant. Yeah. All right, so what questions do we got here?
Let's do this. So we definitely talked about the theme. Now talk about, since you showed SPQF, just talk about the process, the difference from SPQS onto Fort, because I already noticed people in chat have heard about it before, so.
So the differences. So the core of the game is honestly exactly the same. The core mechanisms and the flow of it.
Mhm.
What we changed mainly are little things about usability. So the whole game was icon based. And one of the big things, the first tasks I had actually, I'll pull out some of the cards here while I talk, was kind of redoing the icon system in a way to make it just a bit more accessible. The original game, and this one as well, it has a really fast pace to it in terms of a deck builder where you're kind of doing your turn quickly, taking actions, and moving on. And one of the big things is if people are wasting time thinking about what the cards do or spending time trying to comprehend them, it can really be a big slowdown. So that was one of the biggest things we changed. And then the other ones was little things about end of game scoring mechanisms and a couple little things mechanically changed how some cards work, introduced some different mechanics, and also just introduced like a few unique powers throughout the game and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then obviously the whole retheming was one of the biggest things. The original design was, Grant, if you want to take your interpretation of the theme and tell me exactly what it is in chat, but it's Roman animals, as you can see from the cover. And we already have an anthropomorphic animal game, Root. So that was one of the main reasons we decided to change it to something else. And because one of the big things when we were looking at it and deciding on theme or how we were going to handle it was this isn't Root the card game. It's
Mhm.
not. It's not trying to be Root the card game. It was never built as Root the card game, and we really wanted to make that clear to our audience. Like this is just a completely separate product, a different experience, a different type of feel, and we didn't want any, you know, Gates can say more about Root brand and stuff, but we didn't really want this infringing on that at all. So this was
Mhm.
a good way to do a fresh start, and also just given the size of this game and the different release it's going to have, we just wanted to handle it differently.
Yeah. And then, like, Nick, I know that we've talked a lot about in the office because really, I think when we settled on the theme, it kind of was off of, like, I feel like everything, right, comes from one of Kyle's drawings that he just did offhand. But, like, you really kind of championed, like, what was your inspirations of how the theme was formed and what did you gather from?
So I remember the way it started. The first thing
Hmm.
actually was Cole mentioned when we were just trying to think of a theme for anything. We brought up an old game that Patrick was working on at some point called
Yeah.
Camp. Um, Camp in general was a game about playing games at camp, playing as young little whippersnappers on summer camp doing little camp things.
Uh-huh.
We liked that world a lot, and we still thought it was something fun to do. So that was kind of put on my desk, and we were maybe going to do it camp themed. I was honestly a little like lukewarm on the theme at first when we brought it up, and kind of were going forward with it.
Hmm.
And then I started like relating it to more things that I had more attachment to. So like things like Kids Next Door or like Ed, Edd and Eddy. A lot of like those old '90s cartoons and stuff were big inspirations for me. I sent Kyle just a bunch of artwork and color boards and stuff, and he kind of just went wild from there and came up with he very quickly understood the kind of world I wanted to build. I didn't really have to give him much other than colors and prompts, and he went wild. I mean, you can tell from these the characters in the world have such a big range.
Yeah.
Chef here is actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But we were able to just do a lot with it. Kind of playing on the whimsical make believe kid world. What's real, what's fake. This is kids hanging out in their backyard playing stuff, fighting squirt guns and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I just want to kind of go back to like the development process from
mhm.
SBQF to Fort. As far as you mentioned that the core mechanisms and everything like that stayed the same, but as far as like being able to change the theme along with it, how was that process for you?
It was really cool. It actually, for me personally, helped me, kind of dig into the theme more, or I mean, the mechanics more. One of the big
Hmm.
things that leader games we try to do, we talk about like thematic mechanic overlap. Um, and
Hmm.
this game is certainly less thematic than some of our other titles, right? Like Fast or something. But still
Yeah.
having a quick and easy connection of why players are able to do things and who can do what. Like Munch here, for example. That was one of the big changes we actually made coming from grants because we have a full studio and Kyle and stuff like that. We were able to get one of the big things I wanted was making sure we had, if cards had different effects, they needed to have different character art. Um, in the original game, every card within the red faction, let's say, and this would look the same. They would just have different effects, different
Hmm.
icons. But for us, the ability to the character art can enhance the ability to understand what the effect actually does. So character like Chef there, you can see he can collect pizza for both his books and his skateboards. That's more
Hmm.
meaningful now with an illustration of him being a cool guy who uses a microwave. So getting
Yeah.
through stuff like that actually, I think, helped us explore some of the fun weirdness of it, and then that only
Hmm.
kind of got increased even more so by the perks and made up rules we added in. So these are the
Yeah.
things that players might unlock throughout the game. Let me clear this out of the way a bit. And these are just like little one-shot effects or continuous abilities that you might get. But again, Kyle's able to bring so much character just to like little doodles. So you have your extra large backpack there. You've got your the kids who learned the kids who are roughhousing. Maybe they'll come and hang out with you. You might get the zealous kid who will do it all himself. And like kind of with that, we were able to build out what's fun about the idea of this game. And it's not because at the end of the day, it is a lot of just it's cube pushing. You're collecting
Yeah.
cubes. You turn those cubes into other things. But being able to transform it into a way where the resources are fun, the reason you care about them is interesting, was really important.
Yeah. And then almost just so we can get more components out and
Yeah.
like that, can you lay out the player boards and then even show us the toys and the pizza and kind of go over
Yes.
like what a basic turn would look like for
Yes,
us?
please. Give me one
Yeah. And I know that there's been a lot of questions, at least on the BGG thread, that there's been a lot of pictures of our prototypes, which we've been dealing with like just the normal plastic cubes. These are actually going to be the wood tokens for both pizza and toys, so they are going to be reflective of what the actual icon is on the card.
Yes. So here's your player boards, and you'll see if I can the camera can they are, that recessed kind of inset.
Yeah.
And then the resources, little wood cubes you're gonna get into the game are these little baby. You have your I don't know, let me see if I can oh they're so small.
Yeah. Look at those toys.
Something like that. I don't know. Camera will pick it up some other time.
Yeah.
But you got your plates slide into there. You've got your little pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Little hexagonal pizzas. Go into this. And then I can find the right one here. You've got your little player markers to indicate your fort level and your score trackers as well. And the other reason we have this, you'll see this notch here, is for when you tuck the cards underneath throughout the game, you'll be having access to those icons, so you can kind of keep tucking cards under there into your lookout. Throughout the game, also you'll like shove the resources over into your pack. And if people who have played SPQF or Fort know that over here is where you'll be able to start multiplying those resources, crawling up across your fort level and stuff. We also have the reference aids. There's 4 of these in the thing. I just put one off to the side. So this was one of the big things that cannot figure out this camera. That like Kyle and Josh and I all worked really hard on. This was really important to make sure this icon system was like understood and clear. So there's 4 of these that come with it right away. So when you get started, this is kind of your holy grail to get through everything. And then just a much shorter rulebook than you're used to from Elite Games product. Just a brief 16 pages. So.
And so much smaller too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So show out like what a normal hand size would be, and then kind of play through a turn and how like modifying and everything like that works, because it's a little bit different than like your normal deck builder.
Yeah. So let me get this one here. So 2 of the things that immediately took me with Grant's original design was the things that sold me on it were when I learned that cards didn't have costs. You don't buy cards throughout the game. You don't collect money to then spend on stuff. Cards you just play. And then notably, you can only ever actually play 1 card a turn. As a person who plays a ton of card games and a ton of deck builders, that was so interesting to me. So for example here, I'm going back to my boy Chef. Keep talking about him today. Oop, everything's out of focus. Okay. You'll see here, Chef, for example, can get you a pizza for every book that you play, right? He can also get you a pizza for every skateboard that you play. So playing Chef on his own on your turn is going to get you just 1 pizza onto your little player board. But on your turn, what you can do is if you have a bunch of books or the wild coin, which is this one here, you'll be able to modify that effect. And you'll be able to get pizza for every you're playing here. So in this case now you're getting 3 pizza going into this. The 2 big things that happen right after that, and the best parts of the game in my opinion, are then, let's say Gates, you were playing with me, you'd get the opportunity to follow that effect. So you'll see that this effect has 2 abilities on it. It has that kind of top one and the bottom one. The bottom one is a personal effect, meaning only I'll get to activate it, but the top one's public. So then after I activate my ability, collecting my pizza, Gates, if you on your turn, or not on your turn, on mine, have your own
Hmm.
book, you discard him and you gain one pizza as well.
Yeah.
What this does is it makes it a deck builder where you're actually concerned about what the construction of other people's decks are, which is something I had not really seen in the genre in a meaningful way. Every
Mhm.
time you're playing a card or taking a card into your deck, you need to be considering not only the options for you, but the options you're giving other people or that it might let you get into. And then after that, so let's say I play that, get my pizza, you follow with this, getting your pizza. Then any other cards I had in my hand that I decided not to play, let's say I had a Ghost and Sweet Pea here as well, and I didn't play them, these cards are actually going to go out to my yard. And what your yard is if you play other deck building games, is essentially your trade row. But this is a trade row that other people can now take from on their turn when they go to take cards. So what this means is that the cards are constantly in flow throughout the game, and you're never concerned about the ability to take a card. You're more concerned about if you're giving access to cards, which really changes the formula of like card evaluation, which is the core of this game is about constant card evaluation. Like, is this card better for me, better for an opponent?
Opponent. Yep.
Yeah,
And what's like better in being in your deck versus an opponent's deck, or what should be removed and stuff like that. So that's been
totally.
super fun whenever we play tested it in the office too. Um, awesome. So I think that's a pretty good overview. I want to get to questions on Twitter, and if you follow us on Twitter, Grant also answered some of these questions from his point of view too, which I'll kind of feed back and forth. But what would you say, just kind of going over game stuff, what would you say like the estimated complexity and weight of the game is? I don't know if we want to say that like on BGG score wise or like compared to Root, since I think most of our audience is that. So
I mean, yeah, compared to Root, it's like learning. Man, I don't even like doing that math. I'd say just comparing it to other deck builders, it's slightly
yeah.
more complicated, I'd say, than another deck builder. And the only so comparing it to like a Dominion or a Star Realms, I think it's slightly more complicated than those. And the only reason I think that is because of the icon system in this is a little bit more robust, and
Mm-hmm.
Dominion will just write things out in text. So like your questions are generally answered by the card, and Star Realms icon system isn't that complicated. This asks a little
Yeah.
bit more of you to kind of understand, and there's a stringing of icons together. I'd say it's probably closest to a race, but I would definitely consider it
Yeah.
lighter than race still.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the
Yeah.
closest thing weight wise though for us that I'd say it's like.
Yeah, and then I guess if anything says from our us doing it at conventions, this is we we're used to running 30 45-minute demos for Root when we can play a whole game of Fort in that time. So it's definitely a very friendly teach for your game group and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which then also goes into what are your favorite deck builders besides Fort? And I'll just say that Grant's answer, he had said Star Realms / Hero Realms. So I'm
Okay.
interested.
So I mean, I do like both of those a lot.
Yeah.
Um, the other one that I like a bunch is a Puzzle Strike. Actually, is a really interesting deck builder. And
Oh
the reason I'll
yeah.
mention it here is because it's kind of weird. Um,
Hmm.
and it's I think similar to Fort. Has a way that like the two players actually interesting in a way that most deck builders aren't at a two-player setting.
Um. Oh, hold on. Somebody. I think it. Oh, this is Clay. Oh, talk about. Oh, the recruiting and best friends. I don't think we had gone over that. We went over a little bit about recruiting, but
Oh
not
yeah,
the best friends.
yeah. So recruiting and best friends. So you'll see here. Let's go back to my Sweet Pea Ghost example. Let me pull up my I gotta pull up my other camera so I can see what I'm looking at. There we go. So let's say these are the cards I had in my hand, and on my turn I decide to play Ghost for his effect. And Ghost says I can gain whatever resource I'd like for any icon of my choice. In this
Hmm.
case, I'll do kind of a weird play and say I'm going to just do it for this one crown, and I'll gain play doing so. Cool.
Hmm.
These two cards in my hand that I didn't play, Sweet Pea and Flipper. Ghost will go to my discard because he was played. And then Sweet Pea, since he's not my best friend, and you can tell because he doesn't have a star, is going to go out to the yard, as I mentioned, to be recruited by other players. But Flipper here, I started the game with him. He's one of my best friends. He's actually going to go directly to my discard pile. So this is kind of the way the game handles starting cards. And again, it's a really clever way of handling it, particularly in this kind of weird design. Um, and then what that means is for yourself is your best friends are never going to leave you on their own accord.
Hmm.
They'll never go out to the yard and be recruited. You can still, though, however, if you have something that trashes cards, you can definitely trash your best friends and get rid of them. They
Yeah.
will leave you if you decide to get rid of them. And then, yeah, recruiting is simply after you've played all your cards, you just go out to recruit, and you can recruit a card from any trade row. So again, it's kind of hard to do on my setup. I'm realizing it's wider than narrower. So let's say Gates getting his tight. You know, you have these in your trade row. Then on my turn, when I'm recruiting, I can simply take one of these, add to my
Yeah.
deck, and that's kind of what keeps that card flow economy going.
Yeah. And then kind of describe like advancement and game ending conditions too.
Totally.
Because I know that we're taking in resources like pizza and toys, but what are we using those for?
Totally. Let me find the right component because I want it. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to start at fort level 0 here, or sorry, fort level 1. And as you're increasing, you have to spend your resources, your pizza and your toys, and the level is increases as you go up there. You'll see. But critically, you need to always be playing a forward advance action to do so. So the other starting card everybody has in their deck is this forward advance action. And one of the big things in the game, if you're playing for the forward advance, there's kind of different paths. But if that's the one you're going for, you need to make sure that when you're playing these, nobody else is going to be able to follow. Or maybe not nobody, but as few people as possible. This is like a really costly effect to be the person to have to play it for somebody else to be able to do it for free. I mean, and by do it for free, I mean to be able to follow and then also advance up to this. And then throughout the game, as you're increasing your level, when you get to level 1, the reason you might want to be the first person to get there is you'll get one of those made-up rules I was talking about earlier, which are your private scoring objectives. So these will be in a pile face down, dependent on the number of players. And the first person to get to fort level 1 will get to pick from we'll get to pick up all of these privately. So these would be face down. On my turn, if I get to fort level first, I pick them all up, choose one, put it face down, put the others there. So getting there first not only gives you the first choice of condition, but it also gives you the knowledge of what other people's point potential might be, which as you start to play more and more is maybe even the more valuable thing, is just knowing the distance that they can close. And then when you get to level 2 is when you'll get one of these perks. So just like the made up rules, these would be on the table. These are face up though. And these are kind of those one shot or continuous effects, things that will let you increase your pack size, maybe something that will let you do a forward advance for an increased cost, something that might let you, take resources from the general supply and put them into your pack directly. Just a little bit of flavor. And then the game end can happen 3 different ways. So notably, if somebody gets all the way to fort level 5, you'll complete that round. They will get the macaroni sculpture built in their name, which is just a card that gives them bonus points for doing it, for getting there. And then you'll finish that round and end the game. The other ways it could end is if somebody passes 25 on the victory track, you'll complete that round and end the game, or if the deck runs out. So while you're playing, there's kind of 3 different things you need to keep an eye on always to see what people are racing for, because at the end of the day, it is very much about, am I going to be able to eke out enough points on this track before, Gates goes ahead and ends the game on points, or, is she actually slowing down and I might be able to get another level here? It's very much about, watching when other people are going to end it rather than just this giant point accrual who has the most, which I really like.
Yeah, which is super fun watching people, especially at conventions, like when they were finally clicking up like, oh, I need to be really careful about what I play because that could possibly have you advance before me or get resources for you to advance on your turn. So like you have this level of player interaction I don't think most people are more accustomed to with deck building games, which is super fun. Answering question from the chat, from Stamphampton about when and where can we expect to buy it since Origins has been moved. So we're still pretty much staying on the same timeline. I know that we've communicated in the summer. We were going to have it in time for Origins. So it's not going to Kickstarter. You'll actually be able to pre-order it directly from us and you'll be able to buy it from your retailer this summer. So right now we are currently printing everything. So what Nick is showing you is a very close representation of what the game is going to look like. I think except like a couple of minor changes that honestly probably would be.
Yeah, we're talking millimeter changes, slight color adjustments. This is effectively final for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. And going into questions I have, what would be your favorite card ability or art?
Ooh, okay.
There's so many of those.
I'm gonna call that 2 different questions. So favorite art. Okay, well you guys gotta give me a sec then. Let me thumb through this quick. So my favorite card ability. I'm a really big fan of cards like Munch or like the Ant. So what these both do, and these are both really good cards. So of course I like cards that are good.
Yeah.
So the ant, for example, lets you move cubes into your pack for every skateboard you play, and then immediately score points based on it. So the reason I like these cards is they, when in the game, they kind of immediately change the math of what you need to consider for other players and their point potential. And then Munch is kind of in a similar boat, but what he makes you do is he makes you essentially give up the fact that you want to keep pursuing fort advancement at the cost of like discarding all of your pizza to get points for it. So when these cards enter the game, they kind of put like the the pedal to the metal a bit on the game end, which I think is really interesting. And then for favorite art, one of them is actually right here. This is Tink. And Tink has like a sticker over their eye and a bunch of stuff glued to their face, and I think it's hilarious. And then, let's see. There he is. And then my other one would be Thunder and his giant bin of cheese balls. These are just
Yes.
good children that remind me of I feel like everybody knows these kids, which I really like.
The art was a joy. I think it's probably fair to like answer. We'll definitely be showing a lot more of get closer to the release date. But someone asked the question, who's the cutest kid? And I almost kind of want to say, whose staff picture's the cutest?
Oh boy, whose staff picture is the cutest?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we had Kyle and Nick had got baby pictures of all of us, and Kyle had put us into the game, and so we all have staff cards, which is just kind of a cool little Easter egg for all of us.
I gotta
it's
give
been
credit.
so fun.
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. It's Patty.
I think Patty and Carol are tied for me.
Yeah. Here's Patty. Yeah, that might be the best one. Also, a pretty good card.
Yeah. Patty's Patty's adorable. Award-winning cheeks, everybody.
Yeah, some of my other favorites, if we're talking about art-wise, are some of these double suited cards. So some cards in the game, rather than having an effect, will just have two of a suit. So we kind of saw that as a fun opportunity to make like cool pairings of kids or twins or something. So a bunch of these are really fun. Like Icky and Sticky, who are just like stuck together, is hilarious. The Rocket Bros.
Yeah, all of the double cards are pretty.
This one, I believe, is Topher and Brandy. I think Patrick's in chat. He can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
The Noodle Twins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Malts also, there's like another one in there, but some of those are my favorite as well. Just a good reason to put a whole tile illustration on a card.
Yeah.
A good reason.
Somebody asked in chat, will Fort feature fights? It is a friendly game. As friendly as it is a friendly game. No fighting.
There is roughhousing, and you do send people home. I think it's up to interpretation. I think some people picture the war en route to be a lot more aggressive than others.
Sure.
I think that might be similar.
just saying straight up fighting. I don't know. I don't think that's in the copy and stuff like that. But further questions. Preferred player count for Fort. I think that'd be interesting to talk about, like what we discovered in playtesting too with that.
My favorite player count for Fort, probably 3 players. Yeah, probably 3 players. I also really like it as a 2-player though. As a 2-player, it's so fast. Once you know how to play, like I can play a 2-player game of Fort in under 20 minutes, which I think is great for how back and forth it is. But at 3 players with the draft and everything is where you get like the most out of the game.
Which is interesting, an odd number.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But then let's see, favorite aspect of the gameplay?
Favorite aspect of the gameplay. Probably the whole choice tree about what card am I playing and can I afford to play a worse card in order to keep a card in my deck for a later turn. I think people will initially try way too hard to keep cards into their deck. I think that's a common misplay, or if you will. But just the idea that any card you're not playing is going out into the trade row, and you do need to be aware of that. Is kind of, I think, the best part of the thing. And then the whole counter drafting. Once you have played a few times, we recommend playing with actually drafted started decks. So you get your 2 starting cards, and then you draft the rest of them. And from there, you can. I mean, I've played this game so much at this point. My play testers kind of internal metas start to develop. A card being in the opening draft can change the whole state of what other cards are valued at, which I think is awesome. I think it has a lot of. I think the design does a lot of work of it packs a lot of like big card game ideas into a really small package.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially like extending talk about the draft is. I know that's where a lot of the replayability value, for me at least, played in. It was just like really figuring out what's going to come around in the draft, or what's really going to be played, and what's out there, so you can kind of lean towards it. Is where I feel like a lot of replayability comes from. Let's go. Yeah. And then we talked about the complexity and weight, deck builders. We talked about pre-orders. Let's move to the Instagram for questions.
Insta.
Yeah. A lot of info. As far as like info where people can follow, the BGG page I just linked into the chat, and that's where you can follow. We're also Nick is going to be starting development diaries in the middle of May, so there'll be more information as far as that, especially getting really detailed. Because there's how much art is in the game, Nick?
Ooh, off the top of my head, I think there's at least 45 original pieces in the base deck, and then another 12 to 20 in the mini cards, probably something like that. So there's definitely a lot to show off, which will be showing off on BGG too. And then another big point too would be going to leadergames.com and signing up for our newsletter to get more information. And you'll know exactly like the time that it gets released, the release date, and everything ready to do pre-orders and stuff. So other than that, I feel like we've covered a lot about Fort today. Of course, we can stick around for a bit and answer some questions in the chat. But Nick, is there anything else that you kind of want to cover as far as like development or design enough? Not really. I think I've said it before in my like one other design diary. I just think is I'm just excited that Leader Games and us having the opportunity to get to share such a unique game with so many people again is just really exciting. And I'm glad we can keep sharing all these interesting games, and everybody go follow Grant online and stuff. He makes a lot of cool stuff. And I'm really excited for it. I mean, this is something different than what we do normally. So I'm excited to see how people react to it. I think it has a lot of the same charm of Leader Games in a very different way, which I think will be really fun for people.
Yeah, which I think that would be an interesting point. It was one question I had scrolled over on Twitter. It was like, since the game wasn't developed internally inside the studio, what qualities does it have that got us to be able to pick it up and everything like that? I think is a really important story to tell.
Yeah. So, what an interesting story. So the way it starts is, I mean, Grant just runs these like small artisanal Kickstarters every once in a while. One of them was SPQF. I had never gotten one of his games before, and I'd wanted to. So when I saw it come across, I backed it right away. This was pretty early on when I started at the company. I can't check the date right now when it launched, but me and Cole both backed it, not even knowing the other had, and we just started talking about it a lot. We really liked it. We both played it with our partners a lot. And then, flash forward 2 years at least, I think, or at least a year and a half. And we
it was were just last summer,
and there was an opening in our schedule, in my schedule also mainly, where Cole was going to be doing a lot of larger design stuff with Oath. Patrick was busy with our larger project also, and we were just kind of spitballing around what we wanted to work on. And SPQF had been sitting on like both of our just desks for a long time. Just always a game we talked about and thought was interesting, really innovating in the genre. And I think to say what qualifies it as a leader game, I don't know if I'm adept to do that, but I'm going to say, we
have conversations about that a lot.
Well, I also always feel like I'm putting people up for like, and this is how you get to do what happened here. It was all very serendipitous. but the game's awesome. And when I was in a meeting, we were talking about it. I played the original with them. Um, there was some reactions. I told everybody, like, if everybody's okay with it, I'm going to take a week, take a pass on it. That's when I made the root version. And then I showed everybody again. And after the graphics pass, I think everybody kind of saw the graphics pass, I think, is what gave a few people who had reservations in the company the comfort that, like, oh no, this is something really special and interesting. Because once we got through like that play and learning how to play it quickly, people really into it. So like make a weird Kickstarter game that with laser cut wood pieces and have Cole and me both back it unknowingly and talk about it a lot. That's that's how it happens. But no, yeah, it's very cool. I get to do. I'm fortunate enough that at Lear Games, as developer now, that I get to do it. I get to do exactly what I want, which is making games that I like for more people. That was my job with TMM and the Underworld expansion and all that stuff. So it's just cool to get to do more of that with other people's designs. I think the other thing that does maybe make it why me and Cole both like it so much is it's so open in its options. We often will joke in studio, there's no guardrails in leader games. And this game does kind of have that. Like, I've, played this game hundreds of times at this point, and certainly sometimes if a good player knows how to counter draft other people, they will bury you. Like, and the game is okay with that. I mean, it ends quickly. It knows when to end, and the game asks you to try to like learn more rather than to just like help you, rather than just give you points for playing. So.
Yeah, you have to work for your reward 100%. And especially I think too, us this being our first direct to retail product, because everything's been funded on Kickstarter, so that was like another thing as far as from the studio. And even I guess with your development too, is like we weren't working towards a Kickstarter date or anything, like we're working towards release, and so it's been different with that too. Grant, very important question from Grant is, are you intimidated by Grant's beard, Nick?
I am. Grant, I saw a photo of you recently on Twitter. I don't feel like barbershops aren't open in California either, but mine's closed and it's been rough.
Is that quarantine beard? I feel like everybody in the studio has quarantine beard.
I think I spotted Ted's quarantine beard also. I think you're right.
Yes. I didn't mean to ask. I mean, I'm totally going to now. We're putting Ted on blast now. It's happening. And then what's the studio's non-leader favorite game to play? What is our favorite non-leader game to play?
I'll speak for Marshall and me and probably say, like, in staff it's Crokinole. Like, if I'm playing a game, if I have to play a game with a Leader Games employee, what is my top pick? It's like Marshall Crokinole, probably currently.
Yeah. Oh, with the Leader Games staff?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! That
wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. I see now. I misread it.
No, but it's still important. Yeah. Like we do play games with each other occasionally.
I think we have a really good studio wavelength sessions. I think those are hilarious.
The wavelength sessions. I don't think I've been part of those yet. I will get a Power Grid game. That will happen the week that we return back to the office. Power Grid, and tacos. What is that? Oh, and then Clay, what was the most rewarding part about development?
Most rewarding part about development was when we went to, I get my conventions all mixed up. It was one of the PAXs. I think it was Unplugged or the one after. And I had been really like just, this was a larger, this was a slightly more solo project than like doing TMM or anything else was. And I was just very concerned about reception, how it was going to go, and people's reaction to the theme. I got all in my head thinking it was dumb again. And like, everybody loved it. The reaction was great. And like, that was, I think, kind of what solidified it for me. Like, okay, people learned it fast. The game, I didn't break the game, I don't think yet. And so all of that was like, it was realized then, and that felt really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was an interesting point, because I remember you being slightly nervous, and I remember asking you after the first day, you're like, oh, I'm totally fine. Everything's great now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a big tell too. And then also, it's not development, but like seeing the reception it had at PAX East, because we only had one table of Fort at PAX East, but we had a lot of copies over in First Look. and people just came over and was like, when can I buy this game, or like when can I play it again? So that was really, really exciting. And then what's the studio's favorite food? We're going into AMA realm here.
That's fine. I mean, we can
Yeah.
bounce whenever. I got a couple minutes.
Yeah, what's the studio's favorite food? It makes me miss the food that was around the studio.
That's fair.
Yeah. Naughty Greek. I thought I was getting tired of it, but now I
That's
realize.
all I want. Now I realize
It's all
what I
I
long
want.
for. That's all I long for.
Yeah. I don't know. Tacos are a pretty solid choice.
I made
Always a
some
solid choice.
chicken tikka masala the other day. That was pretty bomb.
Oh, Marshall's bringing it back home. He misses Keys. So those who don't know or live in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, Keys is like a diner, and it's probably some of the best diner food in the Twin Cities area for sure. You have some good gravy there. So Patrick took all the chips home. Thanks, Patrick. Everything. Yeah, I mean, other than questions, I pretty much have everything for you, Nick. So we can wrap up with the ending notes. Is I'm going to drop in the BGG page once again. As far as the release for the game, it's going to come out this summer. It is direct to retail, so there is no Kickstarter, which also will lead with like my out message of saying, please support your local retail store during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they have any problems, they are more than welcome to email us so we can be able to get our games to them so you can support them. For more information about Fort, definitely sign up for our newsletter by going to leadergames.com. And then you can follow Nick at, what's your Twitter handle?
Bick Nachman. BICKNACHMANN. Just go to Leader Games Twitter and find it there.
Yep. And you can also follow the designer on Twitter, which is Hyperbole Grant.
Yep.
Also on Twitter, which is the same username that he has here on Twitch. And then, of course, you can follow us, which is at Leader Games on all social media. So that'll be Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So other than that, I really appreciate it. We'll be back again on Thursday at 2 p.m. playing Oath this week, so we'll have a nice another Oath session going on. And yeah, other than that, I think we're good to wrap up. Oh, someone says one more question. Super important. We'll see.
Oh, I'm sure it's not a joke. All right, what do we got?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I was like, they're leading us in.
Joke. Well, I'll let you have the floor.
Well, question.
We all are waiting.
I don't know. Oh, hold on. Awesome. Usually they get Leader Games games via Kickstarter, but because we ship to Chile where you live, can sell this directly. And how can you get it? When you live living in Chile, we will have details about shipping information the day that it launches. So all that information will be there. We're currently still nailing all of that down, but whenever pre-orders go up, we'll have shipping information out for you guys, so there will be no questions, stuff like that. So other than that, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Nick, for your time today. And everybody stay safe.
Yeah, thanks everybody for stopping by. See you.
Awesome. Bye.